So good evening, everyone. Most of you know me already. My name is Marcel I'm Destiny and Antonio's brother, and today I'm going to be presenting on the legacy of Marcus Garvey. I chose to present on him because I'm very passionate about Marcus Garvey and his teachings, and I thought to share my knowledge with you lot today. So, like Destiny, I've done an icebreaker. This one, continue, please. This one, it's named Name the Country. So what's going to happen, I'm going to put a flag on the screen, and you lot have to guess what country the flag belongs to. So the first country, is it A, Nigeria? Yeah, I made the first one easy. So the next one. Yeah.
It was too easy.
Alright, what's this one? Is it A, Bermuda, B? Yeah, Haiti. This one? Yeah, Zimbabwe. The next four, I'm not going to give a multiple choice. However, if you need help, then I'll give it. So what's that one? Yeah. The next one. Yeah. The next one, this is the last one. No. You don't want help? Nah, it's one of those two. Yeah, Tanzania. Alright. So the legacy of Marcus Garvey. Before I start on the legacy, I'm going to talk about who Marcus Garvey was and give the basic information. So Marcus Messiah Garvey was a black nationalist and a leader of a mass movement called Pan-Africanism in the early 20th century. He was born in St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica in August 1887. His mother was a domestic worker and his father was a mason. Marcus Garvey was a persistent reader. His dad had a library at his home, so Marcus Garvey read a lot of books when he was young. He became a printer's apprentice at 14 years old. In 1912, he sailed to London to study at Birkbeck University. He then returned to Jamaica in 1914 to form the organisation UNIA and ACL. And this organisation stands for the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. Marcus moved to New York in 1916, where the UNIA developed and thrived as an organisation. They claim to be approximately 6 million members worldwide of Marcus Garvey's organisation. So this is very significant because back then they never had no Snapchat, no social media, and Marcus Garvey brought in all these people and unified all these people into his organisation, 6 million people. He created a shipping line in 1919 called the Black Star Line, and also a newspaper called the Negro World in 1918. So, what he stood for. Marcus Garvey had a goal of uniting all of the African diaspora, which is Africans all over the world, whether you're in Africa, the Caribbean, UK, or America. It's all black people around the world, to establish a nation and absolute government of their own. Garvey had a Pan-African philosophy which inspired a global mass movement known as Garveyism. So now you have the basic information on who Marcus Garvey was. Just to test if you lot was listening. So, the first question. Where was the birthplace of Marcus Garvey?
St. Anne's, Jamaica.
Yeah. 2. What was the occupation of Marcus Garvey's dad? Yeah. 3. What does the UNIA and ACL stand for?
It's like you judge and don't remember the first,
The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. 4. In what year did Marcus Garvey move to London? Yeah, good. 5. How many members were claimed to be part of Marcus Garvey? Yeah. 6. What was the name of the shipping line that was founded by Marcus? Yeah. The last one, so bonus question. So I never said it, but the true Garveyites in the room will know this. So Marcus Garvey was in dispute with another black activist during his time, who said Garvey was the most dangerous enemy of the black man. Who was the man that said this? was an activist. No one?
W
No. Yeah.
E
W-E-B-Y. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they were in dispute. So, now moving on to the legacy. I've done the impact on other leaders around the world. Marcus Garvey had influenced the Rastafarianism religion, and he also influenced the organization, the Nation of Islam. I've zoomed into a few leaders that Marcus Garvey directly influenced. The first one is Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King said Garvey was the first to give Negroes a sense of dignity and destiny, and make the Negro feel like he was somebody. So this is quoted by Martin Luther King. The next one I have Malcolm X. So Malcolm's dad, Earl Little, and his mum, Louise Little, actually met at a UNIA meeting in New York. Malcolm X said all of the freedom movement that is taking place right now here in America was initiated by the work and teachings of Marcus Garvey. So what this is saying is that without Marcus Garvey and him creating an organization, there would be no Malcolm X, as his parents would have met. The next one, I have Kwame Nkrumah. He was the former president and prime minister of Ghana. In honor of Garvey's first shipping business, Kwame called first shipping business. He called the Black Star Line. Kwame Nkrumah named the national shipping line of Ghana the Black Star Line as well. And he also named the national soccer team the Black Stars. And you can also acknowledge in the center of the Ghana flag there's a black star as well. The last one, a more contemporary leader. Does anybody know who this is? Yeah. So English rapper Akala is heavily inspired by Marcus Garvey, as he has petitioned in the past to save the Marcus Garvey Library in Tottenham, and has referred to Garvey himself in songs and interviews in the past. Legacy through music. Marcus Garvey has inspired many musical artists across the globe. However, the genre he mainly influenced was reggae music. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Does anybody know the artist who sang these words? Yeah. Does anybody know the song? Yeah. So Bob Marley actually took those quotes and those words from Marcus Messiah Garvey. Down below I have examples of songs that are tributed to Marcus Messiah Garvey. First one, Marcus Garvey by Burning Spear. Follow Marcus Garvey, also by Burning Spear. Paul Marcus by Johnny Clark, and Tribute to Marcus by Iroy. And on the right I have some examples of the reggae artists who were influenced by Marcus Garvey. So, why he's important to me. Marcus Garvey and his organization is dedicated to racial pride, economic self-sufficiency, and the formation of a black independent nation, which are three concepts which not a lot of activists in the past had. They more fought for freedom and equal rights, whereas Garvey fought for stuff like economic self-sufficiency, where he himself formed about 3 businesses. So he was all about that. He has inspired the people / activists that have inspired me, so such as the people I showed you from before. He is the beginning of a revolution for African people all over the world. Where do we go from here? Up here are 3 points which we could all do when we leave the building today. The first one I have put promote unity. I think in the world we live in today, there's a lot of division within our race. Even on a global scale, with African nations and Caribbean nations, there's war, there's disputes. And even on a smaller scale in the streets, where young people are dying over postcode beef and area wars. So I think promoting unity is what Marcus would have wanted, and it was one of his sort of primary teachings that we should all follow. Number 2, read books on Garvey, explore his ideas deeply. There's a lot of books tributed to Marcus. He had a lot of biographies. I haven't given you all the information, but you could explore deeper by reading his philosophies and his teaching. Number 3, spread awareness of the Honourable Marcus Messiah Garvey. It sounds a bit cliche, but I think it's very important at the same time, because when I was growing up, I never heard about him. I only was aware of Marcus Garvey and what he did from coming to these Black History sessions. So I think spreading the awareness would help the youth a lot, and yeah, it would help. So, some food for thought. I have some quotes of Marcus Garvey. So, with confidence, you have won before you have started. You cannot depend upon another race to free you. That is a basic law of human existence. The black skin is not a badge of shame, but rather a glorious symbol of national greatness. A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. So I want to say thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Put into action those 3 points that I said. And yeah, just explore deeper on Marcus Messiah Garvey. I like to finish by ending on the official motto of Marcus Garvey's organisation, which is one God, one aim, and one destiny. Thank you.
Clearly took after their mother.
Good evening, family. I just wanted to start and say thank everyone for coming out today and supporting. It's good to see everyone. So my name is Antonio Philip, as most of you know, and I'm here today to talk about Malcolm X. So Malcolm X, why I wanted to speak about him, he's done like me when I was researching about him. I researched about him from before, and he changed a lot for me personally. A lot of things changed that I made in my life. So most of you know me, and you know that I don't drink, I don't eat pork. You lot cuss me for it as well. But that's basically because of this man right here. So before I get started, guess what I'm going to do? So the question is, here's Malcolm X. Who played Malcolm X in the film Malcolm X? Yeah. Who? Let's see. Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx, Lawrence Fishburne. Denzel. Yeah, it's Denzel. So who played Nelson Mandela in the Long Walk to Freedom? Idris Elba, yeah? Okay. Yeah? Who played the Black Panther in the Marvel film Avengers? What's it? Lewis? Who's it? Michael B. Jordan. That guy, yeah? That guy. Well done. Who's next? Oh. Who played Catwoman in the film Catwoman, yeah? Okay. I think this is the last one. So this is Katherine Johnson. Yeah. So who played her? You know what film I'm talking? Yeah. Which one? Which one? Henson. It's Henson. Okay. So, getting into Malcolm X now. Here's a picture of his parents. So, as Malcolm X mentioned, Marcel. So, as Marcel mentioned before, his parents worked for the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And his dad was a local speaker. He was a pastor as well, but he was a local speaker. And his mum was also a journalist. So Malcolm X was born on 19th May 1925 in Nebraska, and he was the seventh of 9 children. So growing up, because of the work that his parents did, they had to move a lot around in America because they were receiving a lot of threats from different racist groups. And yeah, so eventually Malcolm X's father was actually murdered, and that was when I think Malcolm was age 4, I think, but he was very young, and his mum worked actively to try and gain justice for him, but when it came to the trial, they ruled the verdict as a suicide. And yeah, that had a real impact on Malcolm X's mother. And long story short, her children were separated and taken into care. So Malcolm X grew up in a white environment, a white area, went to school, he wanted to become a lawyer. The teacher said black people cannot become lawyers, shattered his dreams. And so in between his teenage years and about 2021, Malcolm X started to lead a life of crime. And I feel like him doing this is a real key thing and a key part of his life, because we see a lot of people even today doing things that we would call bad, and we say those are bad people, but people don't come out the wombs wanting to sell drugs, people don't want to come out the womb, people don't come out the womb wanting to kill other people. And I mean, Malcolm X, he started to lead a life like this. He was drug dealing, involved in a lot of crime, and you know, from that he managed to turn his life around and become the person that we know him to be. So he was caught and charged for burglary, 1946, put in prison, and this was probably the best thing that happened to Malcolm X, because during his time in prison, he was exposed to an organisation called the Nation of Islam. Some of you know the Nation of Islam, yeah? So Nation of Islam, there's a few members there. This is the founder, the Honourable Elijah Muhammad, and this is the current leader today, the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So they were an organisation set up in 1930, and what they do a lot of groundwork. So, for example, Malcolm X, they reform people who are on, let's say, a wrong path, and through religion get them to another. So the organisation is influenced mainly by the religion of Islam. So Malcolm X in prison, he was exposed to this organisation, and the organisation taught him to teach him about himself. So that meant reading books about African history, learning about himself, and then basically fell in love with reading. And he was reading dictionaries daily, and so it increased his vocabulary. And what that meant, by the time he came out of prison, 6 years later, we have who we now know as Malcolm X. So as standard procedure in the nation, you change your surname and you're given an X. So Malcolm X was called Malcolm Little before. Little was the name of his ancestor, slave master, who gave his ancestors, the slave master gave his ancestors the name Little to sort of connote that they own his ancestors basically. And so by keeping that name, you're still kind of owned. So as part of the procedure, you release that name, you're no longer owned, you have X to show that your name is unknown. So Malcolm X came out of prison, working for the nation, delivering a lot of speeches. So remember, he was reading dictionaries, his vocabulary was perfect. So he began to build reputation for his speeches and what he's doing in the community. So he quickly rose through the ranks of the nation, became a minister eventually, represented the Nation of Islam throughout the media, so conferences, interviews, newspapers. Anytime we thought about Nation of Islam, we thought about Malcolm X. And yeah, he became one of the most influential members of the organisation. So not within the organisation, but external to the organisation. Yeah. So I have a short video, about 5 minutes long, taken from the Malcolm X film, just so that you can see Malcolm X in action. Okay. You've got to put the volume. What's it?
Brother was just watching, man. The cop came on and said, move off. The brother didn't move quick enough for the old thing. I mean, crap, you was bleeding like a stuck hog. So what you gonna do? You rap a little. He's a Muslim. But you ain't gonna do nothing but make a speech.
Muslims talk a good game, but they never do nothing. Unless somebody bothers Muslims.
We demand to see Brother Johnson.
What the hell are you?
I'm the minister for Muslim Temple number 7.
Never heard of you.
Where is he?
Nobody hear about that name.
Wait a second. What is your name, Phil? I'm worried about what my name is. 2 witnesses saw Brother Johnson brought in here beat up. Nobody saw him brought out.
You didn't hear somebody? Outside.
I suggest you look outside that window.
Jimmy, come here.
Yes, we intend to see Brother Johnson.
Who the hell are they supposed to be?
They're brothers of Brother Johnson.
Eddie, let me take a look at that block. Yeah, we got it, Muslim. Relief must have put it down.
Must have.
But you can't see him. Because you ain't his lawyer. No lawyer, no
shall see. Well, until I'm satisfied that Brother Johnson is receiving proper medical care, nobody will move.
Get an ambulance. Now!
Break it up. You got what you want.
No, I'm not satisfied. To the hospital.
wider black community, and how he was able to use that support to gain the change that he wanted in the police station in terms of being able to see Brother Johnson, and get him the medical care that he needed. And yeah, like the guy said, that's too much power for one man to have, and that's the kind of power that he had. Like, yeah. So yeah, before I get onto his exact assassination, Malcolm X was like a prominent person within the Nation of Islam, and he continued to do that kind of work throughout his career, and he dedicated his whole life to it. But eventually, due to like tensions and frictions that were arising within the organization, he actually left. And once he left, he was trying to find himself, so he took a different path. And when he came back to America, he set up two organizations of his own, one more religiously influenced, one more politically. And yeah, so he was about to deliver a speech to an audience who was supporting his organization, and he was shot numerous times. So I mean, there's a debate as to who's responsible for his death, but personally I would say that the government had some sort of influence into what happened, because Malcolm X had a lot of influence in America, so not even on just the black community, even people in the white community started to listen to him. Even in his interviews, you can listen to them. He had real power, real influence, and that would have been a problem for the people who were trying to press us at the time. So, yeah. So he died 21st of February 1965 in New York. So, last video I want to show you is like a 2-minute speech. So there's many different ideologies, speeches, ideas that Malcolm X had that we can talk about. But one that I think is most appropriate for today is what he talks about here about black economics development. Goes into that bit. Okay.
If white immigrants can come to this country 50 years ago with nickels and dimes and no education, and come here and pool their little nickels and dimes and no education, and set up little stores, develop these stores into larger stores, develop this into an industry which creates job opportunities for whites. Since Lincoln was supposed to have freed the black man 100 years ago, and today the black man, according to the government economist, has spending power of $20 billion a discriminating against him, for not giving him a job in factories that he himself set up. If the black man has $20 billion, and these so-called Negro leaders are such geniuses that they can integrate white restaurants, and integrate white factories, and force themselves into what the white man has set up, they should use this same ingenuity to show the black people how to pool our wealth and set up something of our own. And then we won't have to force our way into his anymore. One more thing I would like to point out concerning what he said about 125th Street. We don't waste our time on 125th Street, but you can reach more people in the street who want to change than you can in this bourgeoisie society, the bourgeoisie church, and the bourgeoisie circles. Our program is directed toward the man in the street. So we spend our time in the street, and what we do with that man, instead of trying to change the white man in your mind and make you accept us, we change the mind of the black man and make him accept himself. And as soon as he accepts himself, he'll solve his own problem. He won't be trying to force himself into your factory and into your bedroom and into your kitchen.
So I really like that speech as well, and yeah, it's still quite relevant to today as well. I mean, we still have a lot of black people unemployed and trying to force themselves into different establishments set up by people from a different community, and it's like, there's two things I want to take from, I guess, today in general. So first thing about supporting black people financially and supporting our businesses that we've already established. I mean, it's a difficult move and it's a difficult step, but the end goal and the end result of it would be like phenomenal for us. So to put that into perspective, it's like having businesses that are set up today, putting 10% of your income into black businesses, helping that business to grow so that when they grow, they can offer more jobs. And if a black person's offering a job, then and they're culturally aware, then they're more likely to offer it to another black person who they can see struggling. And it's, with that, once we start to develop a system like that, then black people start to flourish and flourish in the westernized world that we're currently suffering in. Secondly, I want to promote the unity side of it. So I mean, that touches unity, but more financial, but unity in terms of supporting each other in education. So like today, bringing friends and family over to learn about these type of things so that when we go home, we can make a few changes, and it's just a few changes that are needed. So like we saw in the previous video, Malcolm X going into the police station, 2 people behind him, and the police officers weren't really listening, looked out the window, see 50 black men standing outside, side by side, under the same cause, and then that's when something started to happen. So I mean, black people unifying under the same cause to try and make a change, nothing can stop us. And I feel like on that note, I want to end it there. So again, I hope you learned something from this presentation, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, quickly, can you guys come? 3 of you. Okay, in the past I've given a number of resources, but I just went to a program today, and this is a series of posters I thought you'd find useful, so Councillor Nana is going to present that to you. Okay, let me take a photograph of you guys. Get a bit closer.
Is that light in the way?
Okay, in a moment, Councillor Nana will be conducting the Q&A because these things are not just about presentation, but we need to have feedback. As I said, these guys have done a number of presentations for us, particularly towards the end of our season. This is the first time they've done the first, and probably, you know, I'm just going to relax anytime they can start because I know of a lot of people, and especially young people, so I really appreciate particularly Destiny. Destiny, I think, starts about 9, and I think she's really grown in confidence. That's what I really like, yeah? I learned some stuff from you guys, and I always learn, yeah? So I really, I just gave them the topic and left it at that. The sense being that they've been coming to the extra history sessions at Harriman Cup. So I said, pick up whatever you've learned from those sessions and, you know, give it out. They've done a really good job. Can I just say 2 things? First of all, yeah, okay. If you're interested in history, The Voice is running something for young people made by History Essay, so you can take that and maybe it's for young people, yeah? Also, any of those things.